Welcome, SpaceChem contestants, to the 2017 SpaceChem Tournament, rounds 7 and 10, since these puzzles are both pretty similar. So round 7, masochism, you are taking a single atom, osmium in this case, which can bond 8 times, and we are making little 4x4 sheets out of them with different bonding patterns. Went for 3 bonds around the edges in both cases, and in the middle 2 bonds for this one, and then alternating 1 and 3 bonds on the rows and columns on this output. For round 10, Hilbert curve, we're using a very similar idea. We have an input of 1 atom at a time, and we're going to build a larger sheet, 8x4, and we are putting in a pattern of a Hilbert curve. So the Hilbert curve is a famous space-filling curve that you can use, and you can repeat this pattern over and over. The basic pattern is basically an N shape. And what you do is you repeat that N shape on larger and larger scales. So this N then connects to the next N, which connects to the next N, and the connections there, and there are also a big N shape. And if we could have continued this pattern to the full 8x8 size, it would have been an even bigger N, this here and over there. So 1 atom, 2 sheets with bonds. We are showing the Hilbert curve by using 2 bonds for the curve positions and 1 bond in all the other places. Some of the differences between the puzzle: on masochism you only had 2 bonders. Here we were given 8 bonders, but you lost points if you used more bonders. So one of the goals was perhaps to try for a 2-bonder solution with minimum possible. But there are a lot of other goals in Hilbert curve. Masochism, I put in a sub-goal of producing all 20 outputs, so that if you didn't want to, if you felt the puzzle was too difficult and you only wanted to produce 10 outputs, or even just 1 output, you could and still score points. So this is Rexkix's solution, which does just that, only produces these 10. So let's see the basic method here. So we're building our edges. There's our first edge. This one is we're going to build each row, and then we're going to stack the rows up. So here you see that one had 3 bonds between each atom. Now we have just 2. And now for the vertical, stitch them together and then get our, okay, 3 bonds, 2 and 2. And we're going to build the next row and do the same thing. And the final row. Using the osmium detector here to tell when we've made our sticks 4 units long. And so we have, okay, the blue got it in position, and we hook them up, and now red grabs the combination. So there's how we get to 3 bonds on the end part. 2 bonds by virtue. This is a pretty common technique. Sot and long slog. You pass over the bond command in one direction and get your first bond, and then you bounce back and pass over it again to get your second bond. In this case, so that gets our middle pieces. Drop it on the bonder. So there's 2 bonds. How do we get our third bond? Right there. Just as we had blue waiting. Blue now grabs hold. Hand it back off to red. put it in position, and send it on its way. So we're doing all 10 of these and none of those. For a total cycle count of 3314. Because if this had finished right here, that's where the cycle count would stop. Because we have not done any of these outputs, of course the cycle count goes on. And that was Rex Kicks' solution, score of 1.366, using the I-beam. Build each row and then forge the rows together. All the lowest scoring ones use that same technique. So next up, Twistia JFB1337 Aperture, scoring 1.546, 1.624, 1.697. Here is Twistia's. Very busy, a lot of symbols in this, which is hurt its score. And we used up the entire reactor. There's not a single empty cell in here. So let's see how this one works. Yes, we're building our stick, building them horizontally, and we're not putting the bonds in the final bond configuration right away. Okay, well this is actually a little different shape. This is what I've been calling a comb. We have a bunch of sticks connected with a on one end to a spine. Okay, now that we've got them all connected, now we've got to set the right number of bonds. So blue has been waiting up here. Let's see how this part works. More bond short. Okay, we're going to get the opposite end. 3 bonds there, 3 bonds there. Doing the middles. Alright, so blue is using a technique here where it's waiting on these synchronizes. Hey, what's that for? Blue will take this top path if we are building this output. So we've got to get those middle 3. All right, we have our edges complete. How are we getting the last few bonds? So blue is moving them around, and it is red that sets whether this is going to be a 3-2 bonds or a 1-3-1. All right, that gets us that output. How do we do the other one? Same comb shape as before. One little issue is look at where the bonders are positioned in the middle, which means that it's going to take more time because you've got to grab and transport the individual atoms over to the bonders. 5 cycles, 4 cycles. Okay, get our edges up to 3. And now we're going to do this one. So how does that work? Okay, so this time red is taking this path. Yeah, when you have to transport that really jacks up the cycle count. But it does make it easier to work with the 4x4 piece. A lot easier to do rotates and move it all around. A lot of solutions put the bonders, the 2 bonders, that's all you got. right there on the input location. So let's see this one more time. Yes, blue is hanging on this synchronize. And that's how we're going to build this one. Almost ready. Build our edge. Build our other edge. Okay, now we set blue on its program. Which only did a single bond on each of those spots, because now, that's what we bounced back for. So we can do it again. Okay, create one bond, and then repeat that to create our second bond. And then when we rotate it 90 degrees, red will, there we are, getting our other edges. Red will finish up the programming for this direction. All right. So this solution, relatively slow. 8,729 cycles, 134 symbols. So didn't score that well, but interesting contribution anyway. Thank you, Twista. After Twistia, we have JFB1337. Let's see what he did. A little tighter. Would have certainly scored a little better on the Waldo path. And we have our bonders a little closer to the input, so don't have to carry them quite as far. Let's see what he does. We're making the I-beam. Okay, so we're making the individual sticks, and then we are welding them together. We store that up there, make the next stick. And these sticks, everything is double bonded. So after we've made our sheet, then we have to custom tailor it for the outputs. Let's see how that part works. Okay, so red is hanging on a synchronize. And now red will carry the molecule while blue, okay, red is going to build the edges up. And we did not make any changes here. So that would seem to be the top output that we're creating here. Okay, there's our opposite edges. Now we got to do a rotate. And we run through this again. Create our other edges. Give blue the opportunity to change the bonding there. Okay, this is always nice to do. Start building the next one before you've finished outputting the first one. So that is that one. Now how do we build this? We're probably not going to have blue hanging on a synchronize for that part. Okay, everything double bonded. Position it for red to drag it through our loop. And this time, okay, blue is going to go up here and do some debonding. So here we are, debond. Change the 222 into 131. Oh, but that didn't work. It did not work because this osmium had all 8 bonds before we hit that, so we're going to have to do something there. Now what happens? We go through this again, but this time, because we have only 7 bonds, the third bond does get created. So we're almost done. We still got to get those bonds right. which means that we have to do one last little, okay, red's going to take care of those last two bonds. A little awkward, but it works. A little bit better on the symbol count. And as for the speed, well, we had to carry it one less cycle to build the stick, so this comes out a little faster. Only a little faster. 7,103, 125 for a little bit better score. Next up, aperture. Now our two bonders are almost on the start. Well, so we still have to carry it one space. Aperture is making a little bit more use of the sensor here. So we'll build our stick. And this is our, yes, our I-beam. Build each row and weld the rows together. And we are setting the bonds correctly as we weld them. So that usually seems to be a good thing to do. So it looks like we're producing this output. I do like that bouncing technique there to get to all the bonds in. Might as well put the the travel time it takes for blue to get back over to the input, put it to good use by bonding it. And so we have created this one. Now how do we create the other one? This zigzag here to move it one space and then put in an appropriate number of bonds. Okay, we are building the correct number of bonds as we go. And that is controlled by Blue's choice. Pretty complicated flip-flop setup here to get all that to work. Yes, 1, 1, and 3. Okay. A little bit better on the symbol count, and the speed's a little bit better there too. 60, 30, 118. Next up, we have Cactus, who used an S shape. Let's see how that one works. So we have the bonders. Now we have the bonders right on the input. And he rotated that around. And he's going to do it again and rotate it. So the next group of osmiums are going to attach here, which is how we get our S shape. Could have added a bond there right then, but and then we do it again. So we're going to add one more row like that. Interesting way to build our 4x4 sheet. Now we need to get the bonds correct. So first, Cactus is going to do the edges. Or is he? No, he's going to do... Okay, because the bonders are positioned down here, we can't just run this all over the bonders. We cannot access whichever 8 atoms are on the top half. So in order to get to them, we have to keep rotating. We do half, well, a quarter of the bonds at a time. And this was very common in all the solutions that had the bonders placed at the input. Yeah, less transportation, but more rotation in order to get this to work. And so there is our first output. Now let's see how that works for this output. Okay, he's building it. Yes, blue is taking a different route, doing a debond, bond, and debond in order to get our 131 pattern. If blue does nothing, then we just get our 222 pattern. And that is controlled by this decision right here. You know, I kind of wonder something here. Could he have, well, could he have done this one first and save a symbol right there? In which case, though, we would have to change, well, we'd have to change that. No big deal. Yeah, we go over here to do our 131, and we have blue over in this section to do our 222. So fairly heavy on the symbol count, but the score is better because it's quite a bit lower on the cycles, 4707. Let's take another look at that. Could we do that? Let's see, change that to that. Get rid of that one. Change this to go the other direction. And let's see what happens. Yeah, save one symbol. Oh, well, okay, it cost us 6 cycles. One symbol is definitely worth 6 cycles. Next up is atom mates solution. Where did I stick that one? Here it is. Okay, much lower symbol count. This is our first one sub 100, isn't it? Well, Rex Kick's 10 output solution was only 74 symbols. This is our first full 20 outputs that's under 100 symbols. So let's see what he's doing. We're building a, yes, we're doing the I configuration. We're using the bouncing technique here. To get our double bonds. Okay. Build each stick, weld the sticks together with the correct number of bonds. Let's see how we do the triple bond here. Okay, blue's going to add the third bond. And this solution, we've moved the bonders back away so that we have more room to run our big 4x4 molecule over it. So that slows this down, but it's so much less on the symbol count. Oh, okay, we're not even going to do that one first. We're doing this one first. So we built that, and then we changed it into that, which probably means for our second one, we're just going to leave it as is and output it. Let's find out. Okay, all built. Dropped off. Yes. Really? Another way to save one symbol? Same way as in cactuses? Well, we'll check that in a moment. $5,500, but quite a bit better on the symbol count. Let's see if we can improve that symbol count one more. What if we get rid of that? Does it still work? Starting off with this one first, of course. Yeah, it looks like it still works. Okay, well, saved a symbol cost us 60 cycles. 56 cycles. Was it worth it? Now that's hard to say. If it was only a 10 cycle difference, I'd say, yeah, saving that symbol is worth it. 20 cycles, probably still worth it. 60 cycles, not sure. Well, we can find out. Let's see, 1.836 is his score, but if we go to 5564, 89, 1.837. Okay, almost 0.001 better to save that symbol. So the symbol was worth about 60 cycles. Well, that's a tough call. Next up, we have counterpoint. Once again, eye construction. We're building building sticks and then welding the sticks together, one layer at a time. And we had to do a little bit of transport. So once again, we have our bonders just a little way, which means more transporting and less rotating. We seem to be building the... Okay, so we're just putting the 4x4 sheet together with just one bond everywhere. And then once we've got that constructed, we need to add the bonds to get the individual flavors here. So how does that work? Okay. Add 2 more bonds to the edges. And then add 2 bonds to the interior there. Edges and interiors. Okay, well, so we're going to end up with this. All right, this is building this one. If we were going to build the other one, it looks like red would have gone down this route. So we'll see that in a moment. Yes, red took this route. And so we know we have to add 1 more bond no matter what. And well, in most of these cases, we don't want to add a bond there. So add 2 bonds, 2 bonds, 2 bonds. When we get to the interior, take a bond off. Add a bond, take a bond off. So this solution moved the bonders away, which meant our transport went up, but then we're doing a lot of rotates anyway. So 91 symbols. Drop that down there, output it. 474 cycles get our first 2 outputs. So that's going to be, yes, 4,700. Well, 4550. Okay, good enough for a score of 1.836. No, this is counterpoints 1.913. And next up, Darius 1, 1.927. And he used, I've been calling this, an E-shape or a comb. We are building our sticks. Okay, so the bonders are not on the input, so we got a little bit of transportation cost. So he has built the backbone, and now he is going to hang each stick in turn. So that's an interesting, different way of constructing the 4x4 sheet. Okay, so we've got 3 bonds everywhere except for this bottom row, of course, and which is too many bonds right there for sure. We have an extra osmium just sitting over there. Okay, so now blue is dragging, hand it off to red. Okay, that's nice, a little loop to add all those bonds. And blue is handling the problem. All right, so if we were building this one, we take this path. And a little reuse of path there, that's nice. And we have our first output. That's rather curious that we had that extra atom just sitting there in the corner. Okay, build our comb shape again. And how do we build this one? Alright, so here we go. Red is handling it. Okay, the first time we went up this way. This time we are going this way, which will debond that. And then I always like that when you run these across the bonders, 1, 2, 3, 4 in a nice U shape. And now blue is going to take this path. So that was the same for both shapes. We needed to turn that into a triple bond. And red's doing its loop here to get those 3. Okay, so yes, here is our triple bond right there. And get that last bond. Now we transport it down here. And output it 374 cycles. So it's faster, heavier on the symbols. Let's see how long this takes. $36.49, 119 symbols. In 7th place, we have Blue-Eyed Rat with a pretty low symbol count one here. Is this our lowest symbols? Not quite. Well, it's our lowest symbols that produces 20 outputs. We'll see the next puzzle. Rezuns did a 10 output one in just 40 symbols. So, but this is our lowest symbol solution that produces all 20 outputs. Well, we do have just a little bit of transporting to do here. And now this is also the best of the solutions that use the build the individual sticks and then weld the sticks together, one layer at a time approach. So we are just going to build a 4x4 sheet with one single bonds everywhere, and then we're going to customize the bonds to get these 2 outputs. See how that works. Right. So what are we doing? We're going up here. Delay for a moment, and then we start. All right. Oh yes, this is a very nice pattern. So each time we are getting two columns, 1 column, 2 columns, 1 column. And when we flip this around 180, we will get those 2 columns, that one, those 2, and that one. And then a 90-degree rotate will get the other 2 directions. So this is building this alpha, or the psi output. Okay, do a quarter turn. Get the next 2, 1, 2, and 1. Yeah, it looks weird with that unfinished, but we'll get it. Here it comes. So a very nice pattern for filling in all the bonds. All right. Drop it off, output it. Now how do we do this one? All right, we came up here. We're still going through here because we needed to do that. Catch those two. So what we have done here is just shifted blue a little bit. These two bonds are getting our triple bonds on the edges, and then we're going over a blank. And we hit this bond just when we need to make our triple bond, hit a blank again, and get our triple bond there. So that's how he did his low symbol count. Let's have a look at that one more time. So when we created our triple bonds here, we used those two bonders. For this one, we're using these two bonders, triple, triple, and then these are now used to do our double bond here, double, double. And so yeah, we've just shifted blue by 2 cycles. By going through the same symbols 2 cycles sooner or later, we change which of these outputs we produce. Very neat. And so our low symbol scoring solution, a bit slow though, which hurts its final score. 4866. But good enough for 7th place. Next up, I was wondering whether if you did half the outputs, could you still score fairly well? And it seems you could. Rezuns did a very low symbol, just 40 symbols to produce 10 outputs. And this is also our first one that uses a T shape. So let's see what that one looks like. Oh no, this was Rezun's non-scoring solution that produces both. He didn't want anybody to think he couldn't do it. Here is our 40 symbols. And I understand some people looked at this and found a way to knock off a couple more symbols. Possibly if you work on these flip-flops, you could probably get rid of those 2 arrows. So let's see how this works. So we have blue hammering on a bond command. And by virtue of leaving the osmiums on the bonder, we get our triple bonds. This bond, we didn't want triples, so, and this is what I meant by the T shape right here. We build this T, the next T will go right here, the third one here, and the fourth one here. We'll get our 4x4 that way, rather than building sticks. So triple bond, go up here, bring in our osmium early so we get our triple bond. And now we got to bring in one more. And now for this one, we are going to go down this direction, rotate, position in place, input, but only hang around the bonders once so that we get a single bond. So that's a very nice way of building a 4x4 molecule, is using this T shape 4 T-shapes. Always a little more awkward though when you've got to deal with that. So now for this last one though, this is creating extra bonds that we may not want. Well, we can live with that bond. And now our osmium detector sends us right there. So since we've got all 4 T-shapes up here. And what do we do? Okay, it's okay to hammer on this because triple bond's the maximum number that's allowed. Okay, that was already a single bond, so now it's double bond. Rotate it. Come in and get the next interior. So yes, 1 rotation. Yeah, we're not trying to build this one, so we don't care that we can't debond any of this. One of the problems of having blue hammer on a bond command is any bond that's created can never be undone. Whereas if red is hammering on the bond plus command, blue can, because blue goes afterwards, blue can hit a bond minus and undo. It's a little more flexible, not much. You still really can't undo bonds. But you can stop them from being made if it's red hammering and blue doing all the dragging around. Okay, already had our bond there. Make it to double bond. Hitting this bond command just to do that, and using our bounce back technique to get that bond. We don't have to worry about creating another bond here because this osmium is fully bonded, all 8 bonds. And now we can drop it off and output it. So very nice. For a final cycle count of 2204. And of course that's got scaled up to 4408 to compensate for having had to do half the outputs. So this shows that not doing all the outputs could score fairly well. Very nice. Next up, we have our 5th, 4th, and 3rd place, Leylite, Sir Baldric, and Tuffthought, all using an O shape. They build the outer ring of the molecule first, and this breaks into the scores 2.042, 2.083, 2.191. Fairly similar. We see that in all these cases we have a little 3300. This is our fastest yet, and 103 symbols. And then the next one up is a little faster and a little bit fewer on the symbols. The next one up is a little faster yet. So let's see how our O shapes did. Where is Leylite's solution? Ah, here it is. Okay. Our 2 bonders are on the input position. So we're doing 3 at a time and rotate to build our outer ring. Once we've got it built, Leylite is dragging it over the bonders again and again in order to get them all triple bonded. While red is, this is a nice little technique here. Just keep running over lots and lots of bond commands until you hit a sensor. Okay, now we've got to do the interior. So we did 2 inputs. We got that. And then we're going to rotate it 180. and get 2 more inputs. Get our 4 interior atoms. Now we got to get the bonds correct. And let's see how Laylight is doing that. Okay. So this section in here creates our double bonded ones. Got to go through that one more time. Okay, and the purpose of this one becomes clear because it's our last one. Okay, we have this one built. Carry it up, drop it off, send it on its way. How do we build this one? Let's see. Build our O-ring, add in that, and now, okay, we took this path to build this. This time we are going up here. So we hit triple bond? No, not yet. In order to get our triple bond, we have red hitting this bond twice, and if it needs to be triple, then blue triples it right there. Okay, well that was already single bonded, so this will turn it into a triple bond. Okay, and there is that output. Let's see that one more time for the double bond. Yes, red is still taking this path down here, but in this case, blue is not adding any bonds when we're on the central part. So the O shape, building the outer ring, was pretty powerful. It did get us some good scores. Next up, Sir Baldrig. Okay, almost a one-Waldo solution. So it keeps our look at all these flip-flops in here. Let's see how this thing works. Oh, we got a long startup. Ah, there we are. So Laylights was building the ring with a single bond and then running the ring over the bonders. Sir Baldrig is building the ring with a triple bond from the outset. Alright, once that is built, now we got to do our interior. Okay, double bonding it. And then what? Okay, so we did 2 atoms. We're going to add our 3rd atom. And then we got to add 1 more atom, so that's why this is going 3 times here. Because the last time we do this, we do not want to hit... the first time we did 2 beta inputs. The second and third time, 1 each. But the third time will be our last one. So we just need to get these bonds, and we don't want to input, so we're going to go over here to do that. Okay, and we can hammer on the bond command because, well, no, we can't just hammer on it. We will get too many bonds here if we don't move it along in time. Alright, so there is our first output. Just going to let it sit there for a bit. We start building the next ring. Okay, and we finally output it. Now how do we build this one? All right, there is our first interior one. But this time we have taken this path and we are reusing this to get our second one. All right, so if we go up here, we build this. If we go down here, we build this one. Okay, that's really cool. We're going to hang on an osmium. Just using that to delay. And now we come back through this path again. Oh, very clever. Look at that. We set that flip-flop. We didn't want to. But we're going to go, it's okay. We're going to go back through here and just pass through and turn it off. When we add in our final atom. And here we go. Turning it back off. Final atom. Triple bond. Wait around for the osmium detection. And for our last one, we need to build the bonds for here. So this time red's going to go up here. And there it was. Hit a bond command. Okay. So very nice. Run over there, output. Okay, so the O shape is pretty powerful. And we are going to finish this in 3196 cycles. All right, tough thought solution, which is same number of symbols but faster. So also using an O shape. Let's see how he did it. Tough Thought really likes to use lots of flip-flops and sensors, but this one's not quite so sensor heavy. All right, so we are, Sir Baldrig was going triple bond as he added each individual atom. Leylite built the whole ring out of single atoms. This is kind of in between. We're building each side of the ring with a single atom, and then we run over it again to get our triple bond. Now that we've got our ring built, we've got to do the interior. Okay, so we've built our interior with the double bonds. We had blue just running it back and forth. And there is our first output. Let's see how we build the other one. Okay, how did that work? We added in, we do a single bond, one bond there. Well, we've gone a double bond, so we're going to debond here, which will allow this to become a triple bond. Yes. And for our final one, we have a separate leg here. Let's see that again for how did we do the double bonds? Yes, okay, so if we wanted the triple bond route, we we would use this loop for our 131. For our 222, we're going to go down this direction, and we're going to use this loop, which we need to do 3 times. Okay, very nice. Oh, this is our fastest yet, 2754. Third place solution. And now in second are virtually a tie for first place, second and first, separated by only 2/1000ths of a point. Our pseudo dude with a fast and almost the lowest symbol solution, very close on the symbols. With versus Zig's fastest of all solution, which is very symbol heavy. So let's see. Pseudodude used the T shape and Zig used the O shape. Let's take a look at our champion solutions here. So here's Pseudodude. Start back a ways too. Okay, so here we're building our T shape. Now we're using the technique of running the atoms over the bonder several times in order to get our triple bond. And then here, we only want a single. Always nice to do that. Once we have our 4 T's in place and all stuck together, now what do we do? Okay, red is going to carry it while blue, let's see, building 2 bonds. So if we wanted to build 3-1, we would have taken this route. This is our route up here for building our 2-2-2. Mostly done by red. Are we using D bonds? Not really using D bonds. In fact, I don't see a D bond command anywhere. Yes, so we have taken this route in order to do our 1-3-1. Okay. Bond, and our third bond. So ordinarily, our red would create 2 bonds, and blue's adding our third. Blue would be adding our third bond otherwise. Okay, so we are reusing this loop to did 2 triple bonds the first time through this big loop, and then the second time we'll do the other 2 triple bonds and we'll exit here. And now red. Okay, but it's okay that blue is wandering through this loop because we're not going to leave until we detect an osmium. Alright, so very nice. A balance of low symbols and speed. 2452, our fastest yet, 80. Virtual tie for first place, but 0.02 of a point short of first. And so our first place solution is the fastest of all. Zig's solution. So let's see how Zig did it. He went for the O shape. I had thought the T shape maybe was the best shape of all, but okay, how are we adding? We added 2. All right, so we are not building our triple bonded ring all the way. Our ring needs 4 bonding before we start adding atoms in the center, so that makes this more efficient. Here's our third, and we are already building our triple bonded 1-3-1 which is what red is doing right here. Right, bond, bond, add, make that a triple bond, come out here. Now we don't need to add any more atoms. So yeah, it was add 2 atoms, add 1 atom twice, then add no atoms and just finish off our bonds. Okay, we've got to do our edges. That's why we're... And we get our triple bond. And we still have one last bond to do, which blue does right there. Hand off the finished product, and now red carries it over. All right, we did this one first. Now let's see how we do our 222 one. So build our ring. This time, red is, so this area up here was for building our 131. Down here is where we build our 222. Go through that loop again. Add one more atom. Double bond. Only bonds left to do. Okay, so that's what this part is for. Okay, finish up our triple bond there. And make our double bond there. And our handoff is a little different. Grab, grab, rotate. All right. On the first time we came down here and dropped off there and output it. This time we are holding on here, so we drop off here and output. And back into our starting position. So very nice. Our fastest solution. And a lot of these puzzles, the lowest symbol count has often taken first, but this time first went to the cycles. $21.56. Congratulations, Zig and Pseudo Dude. Now this was my own non-scoring solution, in which well, we gotta set a bunch of flip-flops. So this one I'm using the E shape, the comb. I built the spine. Now the other one we saw was building all 4 teeth up one at a time. No, that's actually the first row. The spine is going to be here. I'm building the teeth full length first. Only one connection. So after I get them all built, then this section here is to do triple bonds around the edges. So we have red sitting in here, hitting bond commands over and over until we hit the sensor. So get our rings built. That way, our triple bonded outer ring. Okay, still need to go triple bond right there. That's why blue does this little extra thing here. Give red a chance to hit the bond command there. Move up. Now we've hit our osmium sensor, so we move on to the next part. In order to build these different ones, we're going to take these 2 different paths here. While red runs our 4x4 piece over these bonders on this route down here. So this one is the 222 path. Had to do a little bounce there just in case. And there is our first output. And for our second one, same as before, build our comb, finish the outer ring, take this path this time. So we get a triple bond there, and our triple bond here. And now to finish it off, 1, 2, and we'll bounce back and get our third bond and the final bond right there. Make blue wait while red finishes carrying this over. And that's pretty much it. So, but fairly symbol heavy. Not too bad on the speed, but it took a lot of symbols to do that. And so now worth a mention also is Rezune's solution to do all 20 outputs. Only 74, so this would have been the lowest symbol solution. And it looks very similar. We're using the same T shape, and this is the same construction as he used for his 40 symbol 10 output solution. But in order to do both kinds, let's see how he does it. So we get up here, and now blue is going to change how many bonds are created right here. Have an extra bond command there. All right, hit those 2 bonds in order to we're going to go through this again. Well, it's a little slow. And we're hitting those 2 bonds at the right time to get our 2, 2, 2. 2. Only got 1. Get 2. Get our second one in the middle. It looks like which one, if you were only doing 10 outputs, would you choose this one or this one? Everybody chose this one, the 2, 2, 2 one. It does seem like the easier choice. So let's see now, how does he handle this? The 1, 3, 1. Okay, so same as before, but blue is now going to take this path and is going to do this loop. Very similar. We hit a bond at the right time, come back around, and go back through this again and again using the sensor until red is doing the counting up to 4. When red exits this and goes over here, then that will drop it off. So yeah, come down here, 1 bond, create 2 of those bonds. That's that bond there, the third bond. That bond was already created when we made the T's. And now we've counted up to 4, so instead of coming back through here, we will go on out here, and there will be no osmium on the sensor, so blue gets to leave. Go around that output, because we want to drop this down here, and done. So very nice. But Rezune's felt that the other one, and I think he's right, would score better. So he did the 10 output solution, 4740, 74 symbols. And now, what about the Hilbert curve? So in Hilbert curve, we're again taking our single atom, and we're going to build a sheet, and we're going to add bonds to the sheet in a pattern. This is the Hilbert space filling curve. Have a look at it on Wikipedia if you haven't heard of it before. It's kind of cool. It's a fractal that fills up space. And so one of the things that probably gets noticed right away is that we are building the same 4x4 pattern twice, just rotated 90 degrees. Here it's up here is our in shape. Here's our in shape rotated to the left 90. Of course, mirror images and different rotations will work just fine. So this was my own solution. And I went for the low bonders. One of the things that made this puzzle difficult, you would have to evaluate several approaches to decide what's best, because you're going to get scored on the number of bonders used. Least bonders, using less bonders is good, but also, of course, low cycle and low symbol count was important too. And we had Waldo path. The more empty cells you had with no red or blue in them, the better you scored. So this actually is the best, having just a Waldo path of 40. And I did that. I did some work in here to this got pretty ugly, but I crammed it down because before I had this exiting down here and using one more spot, but by adding all these flip-flops and stuff, I managed to get red to not use that spot. And it only cost me, well, one more symbol. That was kind of one of those, is it worth saving, adding to the symbols and saving on the Waldo path? Mostly yes. However, this one does very badly on another category, which was the minimum of the number of red and blue symbols. This uses almost an equal number of red and blue. So, of course, the minimum cannot be worse than half of your total symbols. So this 90 symbols, this could not be worse than 45, but it's pretty close. It's 42. So it scores very badly on that category. And now what I did is I used the sensor I built the sticks. Oh, first we start off by with a flip-flop setting run before we start actually building anything. So we are building, what I saw in this was a pattern where we're going to build a stick that has 2, 1, and 2 bonds. And so that's what this is for. Blue is controlling how many times. Red is just going to add 2 bonds every time, and blue is going to take 1 away on that middle spot. That's what that was for. This is simply a delay to give red time to get to the sensor command. I'm using the sensor to stop the stick building at length 4. Now we're going to build our sheet, and the way that works is by positioning the stick all the way at the left edge and using this, so this rotate here, I can build the sheet as far to the left as possible. So this will, if there is a sheet there, it'll grab hold, pick it up, carry it over, and we'll do our bonds. So since this is only the first row, it doesn't matter. And that's where we're going to build our sheet. So the second time through, we want to build another 2, 1, and 2. That's what this construction does here. 3 times we're going to go down here, and 1 time we are going to go over here, which will build our 1, 2, 1 stick. So this is another 2, 1, 2. Sounds like an area code, doesn't it? All right, now we can see how the sheet building works. So here, red is doing the work of getting the correct number of bonds here. We have our 2, 1, 2 sticks, and we need to bond them together 1, 2, 2, 1. So there's 1, there's 2 and 2 with those 2 bonds, and 1 more. Okay, this time we are building our 1, 2, 1 sheet. So we hit that debond command in time. Here we want our 2 bonds, so we're not going to do anything. And then blue will hit this debond command again here. Doing our delay to give red time to get through that sensor command. And now, how does this, we want to do, this time we want to do the double bonds on the outer edges. So red is taking a little different path here. This bond and that bond command are going to give us our outer edges. And this bond command will do nothing because, thankfully, molybdenum has a bond limit of 6. And so this has already got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bonds. So we get our double bond there. Only get a single bond here thanks to bond limit. And a double bond there when we hit that. Now we're building our last row. So we're going to go down here and we're going to do 2, 1, 2 again. Yeah, this particular construction, run up here, grab hold, drop it, come through here, grab hold, drop it in the same position. So grab hold, move down one row. And here, red, this time we want to double bond all 4 of them. So that's what red will do. And now that we have built half of our sheet, and because the 2 halves are identical except for a quarter turn rotation, this is what red's going to do. Grab hold, rotate, and drop. The second time red comes through here, it will simply scoot it over 2 spots. But this time, drop, and then come back out of here. This is all complicated. Just save a Waldo path. On the final one, we will grab hold and just move it over 2 spots so that we'll output. In this case, because it's straddling the zone, no output. And now we do the same thing all over again, only we've got this 90-degree rotated one in position. And that first time when red went over here and up here, it did not matter because we weren't making any bonds at all. But this time it does. So here is our 2, 1, 2, and now red is going to wait there. And this special case, we need just a double bond at the start, and then the rest can all be single bonds. So let's see how that works. Oh, we want our double bond over here. Double bond at the end. Saved from a double bond by our bond limit again. And so we hit that, and we get our double bond. All right. So this one is our scored, if it had been an official entry anyway, since it's a non-scoring solution. No, but it would be first place on Waldo path and first place on number of bonders. But it doesn't actually do that well in the rankings because it is last place on the minimum red and blue and second to last place on cycles and symbols. And it turns out that scoring first in number of bonders doesn't help you as much as doing very well on the red and blue category. Or, you know, if you manage to do this puzzle using just one Waldo, then this is going to score just about 0 in that category. Whereas somebody who uses the maximum number of bonders, since the minimum possible is 2 bonders, using 8 bonders, you're still going to score 0.25 in the bonders category. A lot better than scoring almost 0. 82, 35, 90 symbols for... this score is only inflated because of that. When we put in the minimums, this is going to drop quite a bit. But here you see, not very good on the cycles count, 0.18. Symbols, not bad because the minimum symbols turned out to be 60. So that's still still 2/3. Here's where we get killed. 0.023 for the minimum red-blue, because no less than 3 people did one Waldo solutions, and a 4th person did a single symbol for one of the Waldos, so 1 and 0.5, while all the people who had minus who doing minimums of 30s, mid-30s, 28 in some cases, and our second best one, well, they're only getting 2 3/100ths of a point. Even our next best, after 0 and 1, our next best was 13, and that only scored 0.07. So getting that down to 1 Waldo was the determining factor on who scored the highest in this particular puzzle.